It's time now for us to review the newspapers. And my guest joining us in studio this morning, Kojo Poku is an energy analyst, and it's been a minute we saw him here. You are a guest on the show.
I took a new job. I took Ben's job this morning.
No, you didn't.
I'm not?
No, you didn't.
Oh, then I was misinformed. That's why I came.
Kojo Poku, everybody. We also have Afel Money. He's former GJA president. Mr. Money, welcome aboard.
Thank you, sweetie.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's an honor.
Great.
You better add the Mrs. Sweetie about you. If you call her sweetie, people will come after you saying that you are calling the woman sweetie.
That was a year ago, Kojo Poku.
But it's still ongoing.
Let it go. Yeah, everybody knows now that my name is Sweetie.
Oh, that's fine.
I
called her sweetie, and a feminist action woman took me on Facebook saying that, why am I calling a woman sweetie?
You know, it wasn't just because you called me Sweetie.
So what was it?
You were doing my dear. It sounded like you were
so you prefer the sweetie, but not the my dear?
Sweetie is my name. But
the my dear is not your name.
In an argument, sounds like you're trying to water down my point and tell me that, pretty girl, don't worry. But gentlemen, let's get into the newspapers. No, before we do that, we usually give our guests a couple of minutes to reflect on any topical issue that has caught their attention. And Kojo, since it's been a while I saw you, what's on your mind?
I think this morning, I think we just have to send condolences to the family of the Akata MP, the family of Akata MP, who passed away yesterday. I think, yes, Honorable Kumi. I think it's very sad because yesterday we met some friends and his colleagues were saying about how some of them were with him on Sunday, right? And some saw him on Friday, some were with him the week before in Takrady, and it's so sad. It tells us that we need to take, basically, I don't know how you take good care of your health when even footballers are dropping dead on the pitch. So some of these things is you don't know what the cause of it, because is it that you take too much care of yourself? Is it that we don't exercise enough? But it's sad that we are having to deal with a death of an MP. And I think the pressure on our members of parliament, I think we don't appreciate it much enough. And I think whatever the cause is, may his soul rest in perfect peace.
Thank you for that. Mr. Moni.
I think I've joined Honorable Kojo by taking a mental trip from Parliament to Akata, which has been eclipsed by dark clouds of wailing, disappointments, what have you? Because no one expected the Honorable to close his innings at 40, to abandon government parliament after only 7 months. They said
so much controversy.
Controversy. It said that death is certain, but when, where, and how are uncertain. Doors of death are always open, but no one expected Honorable Kumi to enter that door of no return. It's so sad, and it also tells us that, it reminds us that life is fleeting. So there's a need for us to always have this in mind. Keep it in our memory that life is short, and that can snatch it from us at any time, and irrespective of the circumstances. So our hearts and prayers are with the family who have been ambushed by this brutal death. It's a loss of devastating consequences for them and staggering magnitude for entire Ghanaians, because this is not an MPP loss alone. The loss of the entire nation. If you listen to the tribute, described as a rising star. And such a right for Ghana to lose a rising star is one too many.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. For me, all this tells me is that we should just ask God to help us, because it's not about how well you try and stay fit and all that. Mm-hmm. You don't know. Nobody's getting out alive anyway, but we pray to have more days,
Definitely.
Anyway, so let's get into the newspapers, and let's see the stories in there that we want to reflect on. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, Cocoa Board adopts performance management tool to transform regulatory function. Government pays $349.52 million second Eurobond. And police grab suspected killer of Queen Mother. On the first indigenous large-scale mine ownership, ENP secures $100 million loan for major mining deal. So these are stories on the front page. Let's get into it. And I think I want to start with this ENP large-scale mine ownership. So Engineers and Planners, a wholly owned Ghanaian company, has secured a $100 million facility from the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development towards the agreed acquisition of the Black Volta gold project in the Upper West region. Okay, so the bank is expected to make an additional $30 million available in December this year to finance the operations of the project upon the imminent acquisition. I'll come back to this story. Let me add two more so we have enough stories to go around. In Kenya, police fire tear gas, water cannons at anti-government protesters. Looks like a year on, we are still seeing violence in Kenya. That was following that finance bill that was introduced about a year ago. UPSA, Agrada, and public opinion. I hear that she's not in prison yet. Someone was saying on social media that they went to check and she hasn't arrived there yet. So wherever Agrada is,
where?
in Nsawam prison.
Yeah, but she doesn't go to Nsawam straight away.
Yeah, where does she go? Educate us.
I think it's the one at Jamestown. So there's a processing stage, and then some of the holding cells.
So it takes some time?
It takes some time for you to get to. Might not even end up in Nsawam, might probably go somewhere else. So it's not necessarily that it's going to Nsawam immediately.
Right.
So there are places where they're holding cells for them to be processed before they get to where they're going to be. And they can move around a lot. Some people might end up, it doesn't have to be in Nsawam. Okay.
I don't know so much about that. I just know that news circulating is she hasn't arrived in the prison cell, wherever she's supposed to go yet. So U.S. Embassy affirms continuous partnership with Ghana, and financial inducements, pressure, threats, tools for democracy capture. I want one major story, and then we can begin our conversations. Minority leader, there we have the story of the passing of Ernest Kumi. And put aside politics, supports 24-hour economy, Ikuapem North Member of Parliament to citizenry. And on the back page of the Daily Graphic, expert cautions against indiscriminate use of steroids. I think we can do this story. So at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, Dr. Elliot Granting Tano has cautioned the public against the indiscriminate use of steroids, particularly those found in skin bleaching products, as they significantly increase the risk of diabetes. Speaking in an interview with Daily Graphic, he explained that steroids, whether taken orally, applied topically, or injected, interfere with the body's ability to regulate blood sugar. I really don't understand people who try to bleach their skin. But gentlemen, these are some stories for us to begin with. First, Engineers and Planners have secured a $100 million loan for major mining deal. That is that Upper West region Black Volta gold project. I like that it's a fully Ghanaian-owned company, and they're the ones leading the charge for this. Usually, we see a lot of international foreign investors who come and lead the charge in terms of mineral exploration, and we get patents, nothing at all. And we've been doing this. Talk about oil. We still import more than we export. And so I'm glad that at least some Ghanaians are finding the resources and means to keep the money here in Ghana. Let me start with you, Kojopoku. What do you make of this story?
Well, yes, it's good news for Ghanaian business. But then on this conversation, the question is, which Ghanaian? Engineer and Planners has been in the news before. We remember in the before President John Mahama left, there was this manganese concession that was given to them, and government changed and it was taken away. Look, as a businessman, and Ibrahim being another Ghanaian business, I wish him well. The problem we have is that at the base of this, we need to depoliticize all these things. You see, the NDC is busy hunting people and collapsing their business. Then on one breath, there's another Ghanaian who is a businessman who is doing well and getting a company, a financial institution like ABID to support his business. This is not the first time. He had Afro-Exim support his business before. Okay, so look, if you know how Engineers and Planners started and how far they've come, it's not a political company. But it begged the question that how do you, on one breath, okay, have somebody whose brother is president, gets all the support, and on one breath, people who don't know anybody are now being persecuted for their business is collapsing, nobody is helping them or giving them the support they need to be able to be at that level of Ibrahim. For me, that is the debate that we need to have.
You think that's the case?
Well,
that
there are a lot of
Ghanaians
Ghanaians
are not being supported enough to reach the level of Ibrahim.
100%. A lot of Ghanaians. Look, I, Kojo have always said that I'm a victim of 2009. I don't want to mention big men in NDC who looked at me in the face and told me, oh, Masa, now Krakatoa, you can't oil and gas, or Krakatoa, oil and gas, 2009, when I had an oil block. A big NDC man looked at me in the face in front of Kumasi Golden Tulip because my uncle, may God rest in peace, has brokered a meeting to help me basically, look, let this young guy carry on with his business. They hunted the business down and actually took the block away from me, right? I did not get any support from that era, from any of the big men, no matter who we talked to. It got to a point, they actually brought some foreigners that I should transfer my share of that business to the foreigner, yes. So what I'm saying is that that's Kojo story, but there are a lot of Ghanaians who are not getting that level of support. But look, you listen to Ibrahim, he'll tell you the level of support he's gotten from Kufuor, the level of support he's gotten from all administrations, even our great king in Kumasi who helps, and he's more like a father to him.
Let me play the devil's advocate here. Could it be the case that you are a politically exposed person?
Then I wasn't.
And Ibrahim, then you weren't? No. And Ibrahim is able to gain
He's not a politically exposed person?
Hold on a second. Have you seen him actively participate?
No, but hold on. His brother is who? His brother is the president. He doesn't have to activate. My brother is not president. Ibrahim, by blood, is politically exposed. If he tried to enter any business with any American company, they will turn it down.
There's a difference between actively exposing yourself
you see,
in
politically
politics.
exposed person, look, unfortunately for him, he didn't bring that to himself. By the law of politically exposed person, right? His brother being the president, he's a politically exposed person. He comes under that category.
And you were saying at the time that you didn't
At the time that I did, I was not nothing.
You had not declared any allegiance to.
I was not a political. I was not. I was a businessman doing my business. The only problem they had was that, oh, a young man like Kojo cannot have the businesses he had. It must be for President Kufuor. And at that time, President Kufuor had nothing to do with my business. You understand? So what I'm saying to you, what I'm saying is that people who are not even anywhere near business are not getting the support they need. And that's one thing that we need to depoliticize the environment of business and give people support to reach heights. Because we cannot be collapsing people's business on one breath. And in the other breath, people whose brothers are president are getting such support, and people who say that, it's because his brother is president. Maybe there's a truth in that. But the point is, we want, as a business community, we want more businesses to get to this height where Ibrahim is gotten to. And that only way it can happen is if the government, or be it MPP or NDC or whatever political party, make the conscious effort to help businesses.
Mr. Bondi, do you think that ENP got this $100 million facility just because Ibrahim Mahama, like he's saying, is at that level? Or is it because ECOWAS Bank for Investment had certain prerequisites or criteria that you have to fill out and meet before you get as much money as you're getting? Is it about strategies, or is it about someone being a politically exposed person or reaching a certain level of success, for which reason they say success begets more success, you know? So what do you think is happening here?
First of all, let me begin by clarifying the point that Ibrahim Mahama, by all kinds of definitions, every kind of politically exposed. As Kojo said, you know, by the mere fact that he's a blood, he has a blood relationship with the president, so puts him in that category of people who have been politically exposed.
Okay.
And the mention of Ibrahim Mahama also master memory. Airbus.
No.
No. The mining.
Which one was it?
The mining concession granted before the 2016 election. And MPP came to...
There was a... Go ahead, I don't want to belabor it.
Yeah, MPP came to cancel that concession. And that's both sides. Yeah. And, but as far as this deal is concerned, the point ought to be articulated that it was struck far back as 2023, when MPP was government. So it is not a question, a result of political patronage or any feedback from any government. And yesterday, Sir Samjona came to hammer this point that Ibrahim Mahama wants us on merit and not by the fact that he has some relationship with His Excellency the President. And
but that's what Kojo is saying, that that's an argument they can make, but the optics look different. They tell a different story.
No,
that you can defend it and say he won on merits, but
the time this deal was struck, vindicates the rectitude as a deal which is not colored by any political patronage. And to me, the news angle is not the quantum of cash involved in it, but the fact that it's Ghanaian, the ownership structure is of paramount importance. Ownership is a significant determinant of so many things. Ownership gives control. Ownership, insulates you from undue pressure from forces. So we need to commend Ibrahim for that bold step, and this should serve as a fillip to other Ghanaian businessmen to also go in hard, own businesses, who serve as job spinning avenues. Joblessness is an issue in this country. There are those who are afflicted by the stubbornness of joblessness, stubbornness of hopelessness, just because they are jobless. So Ibrahim Mahama is in the right position, right place at the right time, to not only to make money, but also spin jobs for our teeming youth who have lost hope in life.
Okay.
They are not guaranteed their source of livelihood. So Ibrahim, but we need to monitor the space to ensure how the performs. Because it's one thing standing in agreement and then performing, justifying why the agreement was signed. The benefit is to Ghanaians and the economy as a whole. So the media tapping its focus in other areas to ensure that, and also getting government to encourage more Ghanaians to actually, capture the commanding height of our economy. We are politically free, but economically we are still in the woods, in the dark. And it doesn't take mere rhetoric or empty platitudes for you to capture the commanding height of your economy. Government should make a deliberate move, professional treatment to local businessmen and women, empower them, give them all that they need. Because when they succeed, it will ripple not only to the economy, but to the generator of Ghanaian.
That reminds me, because I have not heard you say anything. If you have, I haven't seen or watched you say anything about the launch of the 24-hour economy plus yet.
24-hour plus.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it. So
24-hour plus.
So, I mean, Mr. Money, when you mention about the government should maybe give local industries or companies the resources to be able to thrive and reach that level of success, reminds me of some of the, the posturing of the members of this administration. They say this is a start, 24-hour economy. They're talking about industrialization, agribusiness, and all that. What do you make of that?
Is it new? You see, I believe that we should stop the sloganism and...
At this point, is it still a slogan?
Yes,
since it's been launched and all?
But everything is launched.
They piloted in some areas.
Everything is launched.
Okay.
Look, point is this. Let's differentiate the reality from the politics. The politics and the propaganda was that we're going to have a 24-hour economy. When the NDC brought up that 24-hour economy, it was a slogan. They didn't have any idea what that was. It was a slogan. Because when we keep asking them for what the 24-hour economy is, we had all sort of bizarre explanation for 24-hour economy. Today, when they launched that document, there is a sentence that I love, and I actually quoted it in a write-up that I did. And let me find that write-up, and I'll share it with you. The write-up goes on to say that while the 24-hour economy, right, might brought up the thought of people working shift system.
It goes beyond that. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. It goes beyond that.
So when the 24-hour economy was brought up, the whole idea was that it was going to be a job creation because there's going to be multiple shifts. People are going to work at night. Even I don't know if it's true that Honorable Esedun Ketia said this, but I heard there is an alleged reportage that he said that welders who work at night will get cheaper electricity, right? And today, if you read the document that they've put out as the policy document and what they said before the election, complete different narratives. Now, we've realized that when the meat was added to the bone, it's not really a 24-hour economy as we all said it was impossible, because you cannot mandate and policy people working at night. It's a demand and supply economy thing. What they've done is brought up a comprehensive document to say that, look, we want to now increase productivity. We want to increase export. We want to industrialize. We want to do all these things. But did we have to now come from a 24-hour economy slogan to that? No, because if you look in part, we've had Agenda 2020. You remember, back in those days, everything was Agenda 2020. Was it called Agenda 2020? Something 2020.
Yeah.
There was an IMF program for something 2020. Then Danado came and said Ghana beyond aid. Then we've now have 24-hour plus economy. The most important thing is that if you now put a document on the table and now you tell me that you need $4 billion to implement it, for me straight away is defeated.
Why?
We went to IMF for $3 billion, and that disbursement was done over 3 years. This is a government that comes out of IMF in May next year, right? Already it's got a big push, which it says is $10 billion, right? And now you bring a 24-hour plus economy, which is $4 billion. Add that is $14 billion. Now, President Mahama only has 4 years. So after next year, May, he only have 2.5 years. How is he going to basically do that project?
Well, they said a time span to expend this $4 billion is 18 months.
No, but the point is that how do you just oppose that with the big push? So the $4 billion, how are they going to get $4 billion in 18 months? And the people keep saying that it's private sector led. Trust me, no private sector is in a hurry to come into Ghana and spend $1 billion. If you know of any project that anybody has come into Ghana, spend $1 billion without government guarantee or government in the PPP where government guarantee a major part of that investment, I can wait, you can tell me.
But that's what they're doing,
Yes,
no?
but that's the point. The government cannot do that. You see, that's the thing. When we come out of
$1 billion from China to set up gas factory.
That is G2G. That's different from PPP. Government to government investment is different from PPP. PPP is private companies coming in and spending money on infrastructure-led projects. That no private company is in a hurry to come to Ghana and spend $1 billion in the next 2-3 years. Because you see, your capacity to lend, your capacity to borrow is limited by the head borrowing of your sovereign. So today, the sovereign is what? Is B- with the positive outlook. So now, if you go into the market to now and look for business, all the companies in this country, the multinationals, they are now using their mother companies or their parent companies to get financing because the companies in Ghana cannot borrow cheaper than the sovereign rating.
So, Kojo, what are you saying?
What I'm saying is that it's not feasible.
It's not feasible.
It's not feasible.
Okay.
It's a beautiful document they've put together. What they should do is hand it over to the developmental plan people. What are they called? The National Development Plan. The National Development Plan Commission. Give it to them. Let them now find a way to incorporate some of the brilliant ideas they have for a long-term agenda for Ghana. But there's nothing that can be there are a lot of things that can be done in less 2.5 years. But I don't think anybody's going to see that transformation change. The lake, voter lake, and please.
You know what I like to say? Posterity will judge us all. At the end of this tenure, if they are unable to achieve this, ambitious,
3 years ago,
Ghanaians will be the same people who chastise them.
Well, that's fine. But 3 years ago,
better to plan and fail than to fail to plan.
It's true. I agree with that. But 3 years ago, when they brought a beautiful plan for TOR working, I stood on national television and said that TOR will not have any operationality by December 7, 2025. And it doesn't work. Some of us, Yenya Beifo, we are not, but we know because the practicality is not there.
It's important to spare the goals
with practicality.
Yes, with the logic of reality.
Yes.
But at the same time, we should also look at the optimistic side of the whole plan. So it's a process, not a destination.
Okay.
And this underlines the need again for the media to sharpen their focus on on every aspect of 24 plus.
Okay. Kojo, so you are saying that they should give this 24-hour economy plus policy to the National Development Planning Commission to...
Yes. To incorporate it in our long-term agenda.
That's how we can achieve.
And that is how, because it's not a short. It's not a short term.
All right.
2 years is short term. This is a medium to long-term plan.
Okay.
A medium to long-term outlives President Mahama.
All right. So Army assumes security duties at Jubilee House. This is the story in the Daily Graphic, but I want to link it to the story of the EC bosses, military personnel, or they've been withdrawn.
Yeah.
And we listened to some members of this administration who said they're replacing them with police. As at yesterday, we can Joy News can confirm that there's no one at the residence of Jean Mensah, and it's a weird situation. You say you've withdrawn military so that you can give them police, because at this point we're not in a war-torn whatever, and you don't need military
I don't remember that this
personnel.
was a replacement by the police. This was a blanket decision.
No, yes. We listened to Muntaka, the Minister for the Interior, yesterday. I anchored that bulletin, so I remember. We listened to him, and he said that they withdrew the military personnel because they wanted to replace them with police. And that's, the current atmosphere calls for that. There's no need for military personnel to be stationed at a residence. But we didn't find anyone. We went there live on grounds. We didn't find anyone. Yeah. And it's been that way for nearly 10 days now. Let's reflect on this for a moment.
I don't want to, identify the hand of politics in all that.
So that what you have on your screen right now are the visuals from when we visited the residence of Jean Mensah.
There's no police.
There's no police. There's no military. Nothing. The place looks abandoned. It used to be. It used to be very. So now what's happened? And the explanation doesn't seem to hold water, because if you are replacing security detail with police officers, we should see at least one police person, policeman standing somewhere, but we don't see any of that. Mr. Moni, you were going to say something.
Yeah. For charge, comprehensive journalism detects that after one story is done, we go ahead and do more, fetch up more angles, and one angle is to go to the police and ask them when, Ms. IGP, when are you deploying your people to the residence of Jean Mensah? And also go back to Mutaka.
Yeah.
So this is something we need to do, because the public have the right to be informed. They should be informed, and don't expect the other Ghanaian to go to the residence of Jean Mensah to verify whether the police have replaced the military. So it's up to us. The ball is in our court as a media community to go to Mutaka again, go to the police, IGP, and find out what's happening. From there, we can also inform the public audience.
I mean, it's not a good look because of the political coloration around remove the EC and the deputies and all that, and then you remove security, military. I don't know.
Well, I have always had a problem with military around positions. I've always had a problem. Look, I keep saying that, touch wood, there isn't a coup. But today, if there's a coup, the military doesn't have to move anywhere. All they do is just have to make a phone call, and all our 4-tier or 3-tier of government will be shut in their house because they are all protected by the military. It's wrong. There should be 3 cordons of security. The first cordon, when there is a need for it, which we have a regiment, which because of our history, there's a regiment of military which only is controlled by the president, which is what before I heard it was disbanded, but I still see them around the president, so I don't think it's disbanded, because that is the 24, the commando unit.
Okay.
All right? The commando unit was the unit that was not stationed in the barracks. They were controlled by the president. They were in charge of presidential detail. So there is a regiment of the military that is in charge of presidential detail. And the thing I keep hearing, I might be wrong, and somebody can correct me, is that when you see some military details protecting any of the executives, they are out of that regiment that protects. Because naturally, we shouldn't have military protect any civilian. That's the law. We should not have military protecting civilians. If we want to have a certain level of, then the police can set up a new unit that is trained in certain discipline to take care of the protection of our VVIPs. But what do we see? Go to the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor is like a military commander. The amount of military that he moves with, right? Go and see what do you call it? The chief justice. He moves. He has military detail. Why do we have military details for all our civilian positions? It's wrong.
It's the leadership of the arms of
no, but it's wrong. It's wrong.
Is the level of security not detected by the magnitude of threat?
No, but what threat? Well, that's why Mutaka is making a point. He's saying that he's trying to correct something. We shouldn't, and I agree with him. The EC boss should not have military detail.
Oh, so why has it been so all these years, and what's different now?
Honestly, I don't know. But if somebody is trying to do the right, if somebody is trying to do the right thing,
strategic.
Well, that's fine. But if somebody is trying to do the right thing, let the person try to do the right thing. But you are saying that the Jane Mensah's issue, there is military removed, but there's no police at all.
As they said.
As they said,
yeah.
Right. But I am saying that I have always felt that there should not be military detail. Look, I have seen somebody who is connected to the presidency, right? And the person has a police driver and a military in the front seat. Why?
Well, I think it should differ from person to person.
No, but there shouldn't.
We have an example.
I don't see what example.
A journalist wasn't provided a journalist.
Yes.
Because of the threat which.
But the threat is police, not military. What would the military do? Okay, so today, let's give you an example. Let me give you another instance that happened, but everybody turned a blind eye on. That female journalist who died, what's her name? Ebony.
Yeah.
Ebony died.
Ebony, a journalist, musician?
No, sorry, I'm a musician.
Okay.
I'm giving an example, musician.
Yeah.
She died in the company of what?
Oh, yes.
There was a military person with Ebony when Ebony died. Why? I have seen people, I've gone to people's house for party, right? Party. And they are military people.
That was not an official escort.
But why are military?
She was traveling for
the point I'm making is that if we felt that militaries are supposed to be in the barracks per our constitution, and seeing military out in the civilian space is not acceptable, then they shouldn't. Because I shouldn't go to somebody's house, doesn't matter how much money he has or political contacts he has, and see military people at the house as standing guard for the party. A party in somebody's house, there's military there. When I see that, I cringe.
But you hold on for me. Let me usher in.
There is no thing. There is nothing. Nothing. I don't care. I don't care if the bomb is coming down on that house. No,
hold on.
Police.
We have a legislator for Bkum West among us. He is Mr. Dixon Tredia. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to pick your thoughts on this. Help us make sense of what's happening right now. The Minister for the Interior mentioned that they'd withdrawn the military personnel who were security detail for Jane Mensah at a residence, and I believe they were following her as and when the need arises. And they were replacing them with policemen. As of yesterday, when we went to check, live on the ground, we didn't spot one single police officer. And it's been that way for nearly 10 days or more than that. Do you have any explanation? How does this message even come to you?
Sweetie, let me say a very good morning to our cherished viewers this morning. And let me use this opportunity once again to wish the wife and the family of our colleague who passed on yesterday. It's been a very difficult for us in Parliament. And you watched proceedings yesterday when the Speaker was compelled to adjourn sitting. And today is going to be another difficult day going back to Parliament to conduct business a day after our colleague has passed on in this manner. It's been a difficult 24 hours for us. That notwithstanding, we've elected to serve the people and we committed to doing that. So we'll be going back to business today. Now, on the issue...
Our condolences.
Yeah, it's been a difficult one, of course. And if you look at the manner in which it happened, over the weekend, he was going about his normal activities, no signs of illness, and suddenly the news just struck in.
You know what happened?
No, I cannot tell, of course. And I know he was with a couple of friends over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we got a bad news. When we were in Parliament, actually, I was in Parliament around 11 a.m. Sitting was scheduled to commence at 2 p.m. Just after 12 noon, then the news started filtering in. We didn't want to believe, but eventually it turned out to be the true story. We didn't want to accept. So it's been very difficult.
Okay.
Now, on the issue of the security, I tend to agree with my brother, Kojo, who says under no circumstance should military be providing security. Probably maybe under very, very exceptional circumstance. If during the elections, the security was such red alert, so heightened, that required assistance of military in protecting the EC boss, probably we would have accepted that. But after the elections, I don't know the security intelligence that have been gathered. But I also believe our police and other security agencies are just capable of handling such personal security details that do not require the EC to have special military attaché. You remember when she was going to court after the 2020 elections, she will be going to court with a number of military escorts, some even carrying her bag and all those things. And that generated a whole uproar about the way our military men who are trained to be very disciplined, who are trained to protect the territorial integrity of the country, are treated. So if today the Interior Minister says enough is enough, let us get her a police escort, get a police protection, as many other ministers and many other government officials are getting, there is absolutely nothing wrong. What I'm a little bit worried about is what you just reported, that she has still not been provided with the police detail she requires. And I can't pass a judgment now. I will find out why, but I would have expected once military men were withdrawn, they would have been replaced with police escort.
With a by-election staring us in the face, I mean, I know that Mr. Ernest Kumi just passed on, but of course, we're going to have to go back to the polls to elect a representative for that constituency.
Exactly.
And also there's the, until this constituency now, we had the Bkum North constituency that we are going to go back to the polls for 19 polling stations.
Yeah,
she needs her security detail.
But that doesn't require military. I don't think,
no threat to her.
Hold on, gentlemen. I'm saying that she needs her security detail.
Yes,
exactly.
Police.
Military has been withdrawn.
Yes.
Where is the police?
Well, that's fine.
Exactly.
That's a legitimate question, yes.
So if that's the right call, if you say she needs security, fine. Yeah. But police, these two elections are Bkum North and Akata. I don't think there are such security threat to the extent she will require military. And once again, I want to go with Kwaju's position that if there is a need to have military being attached to VVIPs, that they should be given additional training. The type of training given to military is not to provide such escort services. You have to balance security with other protocols. And I don't think our military are trained to do just that. That's why it's important.
Need some more research into whether or not military should be protecting. Yeah.
No, they are not.
Yeah.
I think if sometimes
Mr. Moni, go ahead. Yeah.
Tell the security apparatus what to do in any circumstance. So they know why they are doing what they do. They know why they need to station military personnel at certain places to guard certain people. So we as civilians, we are looking at this from a civilian angle.
True. Yeah.
No, but can I make a point? I have called. Look, I have time on my hand, a lot of time. I have actually called the military hierarchy. This instance where I went to somebody's house and I saw military at the party. I called. And they gave me the number of the colonel at the time who was in charge. And he says that most of them their commanding officers, they give excuses of the reason to leave barracks. Because a military person is supposed to leave the barracks. So they give excuse to leave the barracks and go and do something privately.
Yeah.
Because they are not supposed to you can't tell your CO, your commanding officer, that I'm going. No, you're not. Because you are in a battalion or in a regiment. When you move with your regiment and you are detailed. So the point is that, like my honorable said, in our territory, inside the country, military has no provision of anything. What military are supposed to do is to provide, to basically guard our territory. If they are to provide personal details, I'm saying that there's only one regiment that is under the commando unit, which we don't know whether it's banned or still there. Okay. Because when you see military at the presidency, they are from that unit. And they are told, I'm told that, because I make a lot of phone calls. So I have actually called the military high command and asked that, I went to a party. They said, no, it's not possible. We will investigate it. So it's not possible.
Sometimes it could also be when a senior military officer is attending events. You may have some junior officers accompanying. Sometimes that also
be that as it may, we know that security matters are not always discussed in detail in the public eye, right? So this is what we know, like Mr. Money said, from a civilian perspective. Yeah. So let's leave this and then move on to other stories. Kojo, let's look into your paper now, the daily guide.
Okay, yes. So we've discussed that. I think I want to talk quickly about don't take credit for Eban Akuma oil discovery minority. I think over the weekend, I think Friday, the news came out that there is an oil find, and the Ministry of Energy released a statement. I think we need to put this thing in perspective. There was already a discovery, but when you make a discovery, you have to now do what you call appraisal. Yes. So you need to appraise the discovery and now declare commerciality. So the discovery was not done now. The discovery was done in the regime of the previous... Is it
absolutely necessary that the opposition takes credit?
No, it's not about taking credit. It's putting the conversation and educating Ghanaians. Okay. You see, it's not always about taking credit. When somebody says that, I came into government and we found oil, that's not true. So if the right statement is that there was oil that was found, then in somebody's regime, commerciality was declared. Like my brother rightfully put it out there that Ibrahim's deal started in 2023 and the deal has been signed now. It's good to put education out there and let Ghanaians understand. So when the minority says that do not take credit, they are to say that the discovery was not made now. The discovery was made under somebody's regime, and now commerciality has been declared. So I thought I will put that out there. The next one will be... I think, what else can we look at in this paper?
But Mr. Dixon Chedia, do you have any comments on this? I mean, this is...
I don't want to belabor that point, but except to say that if discovery was made at that time, no announcement was made to that effect. And I think this government has done very well by continuing with the processes and eventually arriving at the point where we are convinced this could be explored in commercial quantities. And I think this government has that track record. When we came into government years ago, President Kufuor left office with one oil field. We left with 3 oil fields. So this is nothing new for this government. We're looking at all our natural resources and how we can benefit from these natural resources. So this is one of the many innovations that this government is bringing to expand the economy, aside from the area of mining, extractive industry, as we've seen in the case of the EMP deal, 100 million deal, which I would want to have a bite later.
We actually discussed it, and the issue about whether or not it's political favor because of his exposure.
Not at all. I don't think.
Let's hear your thoughts on this.
And I think Sam Jonah has done a very extensive justice to this very important job. You know, one thing really about this country is when it is about indigenous company, then we begin to read all political connotations, or acts of cronyisms, whatever, into it. The point is we've gotten to a point as a country where we should be deliberate in promoting Ghanaian industries. And I think this goes to consolidate the position of this government that we should support indigenous organizations. That's why some of us were very vociferous when the issues of Zoom Lion and other indigenous companies came on. We want to see our local companies growing and being competitive with the foreign companies. We're in this country when almost all our local banks were collapsed, and foreign banks from Nigeria and other sister countries are doing well in this country. I think we should go beyond these petty partisan considerations. If you look at the EMP, they're doing well all over. If you go to Liberia, doing extremely well. So this company has track record across the continent, if I should put
but
it.
Answer
so
this for
we
us.
should forget about.
Do you think that EMP would have won that $100 million loan, not won, gotten that $100 million loan facility if it wasn't Ibrahim Mahama's face and name leading it?
Not at all. That's why Sanjona has explained. And don't forget, in 2015, 2016, when this bauxite deal came, many were saying he got it because of his relations with President Mahama. The President Akufo-Addo administration came in and they canceled the deal, and they went for a kind of barter system with the Chinese. And what has happened to that deal? If he had been given opportunity at that time to continue, probably a lot more could have been achieved for the benefit of this country. So I think it doesn't matter whether he's the brother of President Akufo-Addo, whether he's the nephew. The question is, has he got the capacity? Has he got the resources? Does he have the track record of delivering in such areas? And I think this is a game changer, as Sanjona has said. The first indigenous mining extractive industry of this magnitude. We've seen small-scale ones, but big ones like this is the first of its kind, and we should all support this deal.
All right. Well, could you want to say something? Make it brief for me. And
a good sword cuts both ways, right? Everybody is in support of an indigenous person doing something and getting support from government, be it Ibrahim. All I Kojopoku asks is that the other way, when it happens, everybody should also support it.
Oh, yes.
It shouldn't, no, because it hasn't been. Let's not do, oh, yes.
That has been my position.
I'm a victim. No, I'm a victim of collapse his business. So let's not make it look like it's, oh, yes, it's not. So let's today reset, because that's the era we are in. We are supporting Ibrahim, but let's put it on record that since we are supporting Ibrahim and nobody is reading chronism, Ibrahim, let's not miss words. He's the brother of the president. It doesn't matter. He is a well-established businessman. Let's support him. But all I'm saying on record today is that let's support each other. A good sword should cut both ways. If tomorrow is Kojopoku, if NDC is in power, support me. That's what I'm saying.
You made a very blanket statement.
That's a right call.
Is that in fact the reality? That nobody who isn't maybe a sympathizer of the...
No, but it is, I'm not saying that...
Or the opposition and
it is a trend where political party come in and kill the businesses of known political opponents. It's a trend. What I'm saying is that let's reset. What as me, Kojopoku, I'm not a fan of or the IM means me. Let's move on as a nation. If today we are using Ibrahim as a benchmark, I'm saying that a good sword should cut both ways. Today is Ibrahim, we will support him.
Could you let me humor you? Yeah.
I think relevant to this discussion is the strident call by Minority Leader Afenyo Kim for an end to the retaliatory politics.
Exactly.
George Osberger once said, retaliation is the most useless weapon on earth because it ignites an endless cycle of brutal reprisals. So as a nation, we've come a long way, 65 years old, and there was a need for us to consign to the dustbin of history. This is for tat politics. It doesn't augur well for us at all. It's a dangerous augury for our future.
Mr. Wani, let me humor you, gentlemen. Yeah. Is that what, Kojo, when you entered this morning, we're having a conversation about the former aide of Bawumia, who now is a
He's not the former aide. He's not the aide, please. Let's correct that. He was a front desk. She was a front desk secretary.
Going around
No. She was a front. No.
No, she wasn't an aide.
She was a front desk secretary. Let's not confuse aide. An aide to the vice president is different from a front desk secretary.
Okay.
If NDC would take a front desk secretary.
But she was working in the office of the vice president.
Yes, but a front desk secretary.
Okay.
He is working on the office of the vice president, but a front desk secretary. Let's put it in context. If the
context
NDC
established, Kojo,
well,
but the
fine.
point I want to make.
Okay, so make your point.
The point, right?
Nobody. She was in the office as a front desk secretary.
And she's not the only one we've seen from the opposition side who's joined this administration. Yeah. No,
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with people moving carpets. People are free to join administration and parties all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's put it in context. Who joined? A front desk secretary is now a presidential aide. Let's move it on.
But Kojo, in a broader scheme,
yeah.
Your entire staff could be referred to as your aides. Anybody who has a role, no.
Your entire staff is not your aide. No, please.
No,
I disagree.
If your staff, they all.
Yes.
What is aid? What is aid?
Your aid.
Anybody who is assisting you to achieve the vision of the leader.
It's too broad.
It's too broad. In the presidential office, aides are used differently. So I don't think I can go around the person who works as a cleaner in President Mohammed's office can call himself an aide.
So yes, she was not an aide to Vice President Bawumia, but I'm saying that we are starting to see that this administration is inviting those who didn't necessarily sympathize with them prior to assuming office. And that's a good thing, no?
No, it's always happened. Look,
President
Kufuor had Ndume in his government as minister.
Yeah.
We've always, Malamisa, it's always happened. It's nothing new.
So why did we make such a ceremony out of this one?
Because this one is the person that is doing that.
And not an aide.
The person who is it is, listen, nobody cares who decides to join a political party and leave a political party. It's the context that worries everybody. Okay. When somebody is put in a certain position and made to look like, oh, somebody's aide left and joined this person. No. That person was sacked from the vice president's office. She was sacked, right?
And when she resigned.
No, she was sacked.
For what?
Sacked, not resigned.
She was sacked. There, you can go into and find out what happened, but she, at the time, have you guys forgotten that she was on TV before the election?
We will quote you, Kojo, that you said she was sacked.
What I'm saying to you is that have you forgotten that she was on TV before the election? She was on TV before the election. She granted an interview saying all sorts of manner of things about the president, the flag bearer at the time. So her coming in on board, it's not new. There's in fact a woman on XYZ who said that this girl was brought to her office for the first time, and at the time we were desperate to save Ghanaians. I don't see where the desperation to save Ghanaians were. Ghanaians didn't say they were desperate to be saved. But anyway, what I am trying to make is that this is not a woman who was in the fold of the vice president's campaign.
But she knew.
Let me land. This was not a woman who was in the fold of the vice president campaign or vice president office and basically saw something magnificent about the other side and left. No. She was let go and she was beefed, came on TV, said all sorts of manner of things about the vice president, and later has found favor with the NDC and they've employed him. Big deal.
Be that as it may, she worked in the office of the vice president. Hold on. I just want to hold on. We will move on. I will move on. I'm the one moderating this. Hold on, Kojo. And the thing she came out to say, it helped the NDC party at the time to win power, no?
No, it did not.
Talking about how she has observed and how she knows that Bawumia is not a good person to lead Ghana and all that. No?
Listen,
all right.
Political parties.
All right. Mr. Money, quick thoughts on this.
Let me land on that one quickly.
I thought you wanted us to move on, Kojo. So let's move on.
Since you made that statement, as political parties, we take Ghanaians for granted. The reasons Ghanaians voted for the NDC to come into the country, I don't think anybody would consider what that statement the girl made as a reason not to vote for the right. Look, let's not make people seem like what they are not. That woman's interview before the election was needless.
Okay.
But I think to be simplistic to also rule out the damaging effect.
Well, to an extent, yes, but my point is that let's move on from that. They've gotten her, they've employed her, they're happy. Let's move on.
The whole thing wraps off you wrongly, doesn't it?
Because she's not what she claims she is.
Yeah. Let's do one more story from you. And
Yes,
we go to
EC doing need NDC binding at the Bkum. Look, the NPP has a position.
we're back here again.
Yes, the NPP has a position. The NPP's position is that we went to court. The court directed EC to compile the 3 remaining polling stations. EC asked for security. They were to be given security to compile the 3 remaining and declare the winner. The party doesn't know where this rerun of 19 is coming from. There was a NEC meeting yesterday, and the position of the party is that they're going to go to court for the court to enforce its ruling. We, the party, MPP, know we've won the Bkum constituency, and we don't think there's a need to rerun any 19, because there's no justification given to anybody where that 19 rerun is coming from, those 19 polling stations. So the policy and the position of the party as at yesterday is that we are going to court to ask the court to enforce its own ruling.
And this is the only time that you've realized that the EC is doing the bidding of the NDC.
We never said EC is doing it. Nobody's saying. The paper is saying that. I'm not saying that. I mean, the paper is saying that.
In the lead up to election 2024.
My dear, don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that. The paper is saying it.
Kojo, let's have a conversation.
All right, let's do, please.
In the lead up to election 2024, all the controversial issues that came up, you hear the NDC saying the EC is in bed with the NPP, the EC is corrupt, blah, blah, blah. You never heard the NPP say anything about the EC's inability to deliver credible elections. In fact, you never called the EC's competence into question.
But there was no issue to call competence. This is an issue where we are calling competence because a court has ruled. No, a court has ruled. No, they went to court. My brother, they came to Parliament, right? They made a submission to Parliament. When they came to Parliament, you can tell us what they said. So there's record.
Let me tell you what transpired in Parliament.
Go ahead.
And what transpired in Bkum.
No. Let's not tell us. We all know what happened. Tell us what happened.
Allow it.
Let's for the purposes of our viewers.
Yes,
let us
go
educate
ahead.
everybody. We know what happened. In fact, we also didn't get what we wanted. We wanted 37 polling stations to be rerun. We didn't get that. On the grounds that all these 37 polling stations, the results were scanned copies of the results. Out of the 37, EC says both parties, MPP, NDC, verified all the 37. But 19 of them were not verified by the polling station officers over there. So, Koyo, results are brought in. They are not hard copies. They are scanned copies. Your party has verified, the NDC agent has verified, but the polling station officer there says, no, this is a scanned copy that I cannot verify. Can you go ahead to use those results to declare?
Say that again. The polling station or the coalition center?
The polling station officer, you know, when...
How does the polling station have a scanned copy? He was there to sign the original copies.
No,
it's different.
No. When they are collating,
verifying.
No, he's saying scanned copy. I just want to get it clear.
Yeah,
we just want education.
When
you are saying that the polling station officer who is there with the hard copy.
No, they don't have the hard copy.
Why?
He had scanned copies, Kojo. That was the problem. That's a root cause of the whole.
No, but I'm saying to you that when the election was concluded, Honorable, we'll get there. When the election was concluded, the polling station officer was there with the pink sheets.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And you are saying that he has a scanned copy? The polling station officer. Are you talking about the coalition center or the polling station?
No, a polling station. I'm talking about the coalition.
The hard copy?
Kojo, perhaps if you let him finish
you are not following the processes.
You follow him. So don't interrupt.
After the at the end of the close of the poll, ballots are counted. They are signed. Each agent is given a copy.
Yes.
Then during collation,
at the collation,
you bring your copies.
Thank you.
MPP came in with scanned copies.
So it's the collation center, not the polling station. Yes, exactly, the collation center.
So at the collation center, MPP doesn't have a hard copy that was given. NDC didn't have. Then MPP produced scanned copies that they have scanned their copies and they have the scanned copies. Both parties looked at them, agreed on 37, but at the collation center, the officer in charge agreed on 18 and 19 were rejected. So those 19 that were not approved by the EC are the areas we're going to have a rerun.
And
What's
the
big deal
collation
about
center.
it? So, are you expecting us to accept the scanned copy results that have not been verified
by... What happened in Parliament that contradicts what the EC is saying now? In terms of saying under oath that they needed security to just collate three polling stations, outstanding. Yes. And they came to Parliament, and I remember, Dr. Bosman Asari saying the exact same thing to Parliament.
Did you hear the position of the majority leader on that day? Majority leader's position was that how can you get security to proceed with 3 when you have 19 that have not been verified? So Parliament as an institution and as the leader of the government business will never go ahead to grant your request for security to proceed until we have the 19 police stations being verified. We don't run. That's why.
So now it's clear that your will has been imposed on the EC.
Let me tell you.
So your will has been imposed on the EC.
No.
But you can't infer this from
the statement he's made.
Why wouldn't you let me finish? This is pursuant to the question she asked. That the EC came to Parliament and they made that appeal to Parliament. That Parliament should intervene. It was based on that appeal that the majority leader said, no, you have 19 police stations that have not been verified. How do we intervene for security to be provided for collation of that? So all those that have not been verified. And the basis for collation is production of your pink sheets, and upon verification, the details are entered and accepted. Okay, so once they are not validated, once they are not verified, those figures cannot be used. And in any case, Kojo, if you won, genuinely, you think you won, what are you afraid of?
Nobody's afraid of anything.
What are you afraid of?
You see, that's an argument that I think is flawed. Here's why. There are people who voted for the NDC who've changed their mind now and who vote for the NDC. Yeah. There are people who've lost their lives. There are people who've traveled and they would not return anytime soon for a rerun. Yeah. There are people who just lost in apathy setting. They've just lost interest in the whole voting thing, you know. So if you won, you cannot guarantee that you win again.
Let's look at it this way. If on the day of the polls, somebody snatches ballot box, ran away with it, then you say, oh, as for me, I have won. Because we don't have the figures, so what is the way forward? Because you can also not declare a winner based on pink sheets that have not been verified. That is also problematic. And it's against the law. Because the law says those pink sheets should be verified.
That is not an contention.
So what is the way forward?
The problem now is how do we reconcile that the EC said under oath that they needed security for 3 outstanding polling stations. And then we hear, albeit political, we did hear the chairman of the NDC make the call that the EC and the 2 deputies should be removed. Imani Africa joined that call. They are not fit for purpose. You know, the entire... And yesterday, I'm even finding out that it's not just the 3. They should be all 7 because there's a 7-member commission, you know. And now, magically, they're saying that they want to go and rerun the election. That's the argument the opposition is making, that the EC is dancing to your tune.
No, let me tell you this. This is based upon probably superior argument. On the 7th of December in Akwatia, Boachi Yadom was declared the parliamentary candidate-elect for that constituency on the 7th December. On the 12th, that very EC changed his mind and declared my brother who just passed yesterday. So this is not the first time EC has taken a decision and reviewed their own decision based upon new information and superior argument. So there is absolutely nothing
So what's the way forward? The MPP is going to court. You have no qualms at all in terms of running this.
We are also not satisfied. We are actually looking at the 37. But because we are ready today, we are ready tomorrow. If EC says we should go and rerun 3, we will do rerun. If they say 10, we will do 10. If they say 17, 19, we will do. So for us, we're ready, and I think there is nothing to worry about.
Okay.
This is the EC that we ourselves have been complaining about, but we think this matter should be resolved. The good people of Ablekuma should have a representation in Parliament, and we're ready to do whatever it takes legally to get a representation
Thank
for
you.
the good people of Bkum.
Mr. Money, let's get into your papers. If you want to reflect,
Oh,
go ahead.
my small issue is that before the decision was taken to rerun the 19 police stations, we were made to understand that there was an IPAC meeting. I don't know what transpired at that IPAC meeting. What was the level of agreement between the EC and the political parties, especially the contending political parties? And how come that soon after the IPAC party, EC will come out with a decision to rerun election in 90 police stations? One party will kick against it vehemently, another will support it. And up to me, I'm looking at the bigger picture. So what happens in 2028? What lessons are we learning from what is happening now? With all our years of democracy, are we still, battling with how to solve basic issues like declaring, in this age of IT, in this age of AI, why can't the results be tallied soon after voting? It is a huge question. In fact, it's who's...
But my brother, that's what is done, and they are challenging. You see, what we did, MPP did, the minute the results was collated and signed, we take a copy. So we have a copy.
So why were you not able to produce a copy?
Hold on. Those
were you
ones,
not
no,
able
hold
to
on.
produce
But
a
the
copy?
point is that, that's what my brother is saying, in the year of AI and IT, digital copies are as good as original hard copies.
They can be manipulated.
How are they going to manipulate it?
No.
Then let's not talk about IT. If that's
So,
the area we want to
gentlemen,
go.
we have just like 7 minutes, and I do want to get into the overseer. So, Mr. Money, let's do that.
Overseer IMF Executive Board approves $370 million disbursements for Ghana. Government to clear debts owed road contractors. And this is coming from His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
They said this month, right?
Yeah, by the close of this month. I think it's good news to contractors because many road projects have stalled as a result of non-payment of contractors. And it's an ugly spectacle in many of our major roads. I applied the Dodua road on Saturday. It was terrible. There was no sign of continuation of work. The contractor has not been paid, and the contractor has abandoned the project. I believe this is replicated in other parts of the country. It's not
in Sawam. Terrible.
Terrible. So we need to. ADB introduces 24-hour service at Tema Port.
Okay.
To Sapon, MD of ADB, smiling broadly. And the MPP mourns sudden death of Akata MP NS. For me, our hearts and prayers are with the family. It's a loss of devastating consequences and shattering magnitude to us all as Ghanaians.
I can only do one major story there, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Mr. Dia, on the contractors' bid, because this is not the first time we are, paying contractors after a long hiatus in terms of whether it's financing gaps, whether it's just that the contractors do not want to go back to the roads and fix them. But I think it's an issue of sustainability. The quality of the maintenance work we are doing is just not at par, which is why after every 2-3 years, we have to go back to the same stretch of road and fix it. What measures is this administration putting in that once you're paying these contractors the money's owed, you are actually monitoring and evaluating the work that they're doing so that the next 2-3 years, we're not back here again?
That's exactly the situation. The current situation we find ourselves in is a very difficult one. The previous administration awarded contracts all over without funding. Dedicated funding for those contracts. Oh yes, let me pick.
You go, Kojo, laughing.
Let me pick.
Kojo, wait. Kojo, I will give you the time.
I don't know what they are complaining about.
I will give you time.
Kojo, there's no money. Who said there's money?
Kojo, my constituency.
Kojo, I'll give you time.
My constituency on the 11th December, 4 days after the election, the contract was awarded from Gini to Sampa, $50 million. That was not captured in the budget. That was not captured in the supplementary budget. Just as contractor to go on site. And a number of such contracts awarded. So when this government conducted audit, there is a huge debt piling. And this is a government that takes responsibility and says, whatever the situation, the routes must be fixed. That is why we should commend President Mahama. And in fact, this year, he has dedicated a lot of funding to the road sector under his flagship program, the Big Push. A chunk of the money is going into the road.
True, but it doesn't answer the question of the M&E. Monitor and evaluate the quality of work. In fact, last week or last 2 weeks or so, we saw in the dailies that they had published, they had open bidding for contractors to maintain.
And that's why
the question is, how do we not come back here again?
That's why, let me tell you, factors that come into play. One, delay in payments also affect quality of work done.
Okay.
Because the contract awarded, say, 50 million, and for years you are not paying them. So they cut corners and they didn't do good job. Two, the Ministry of Finance now has introduced a policy of blacklisting contractors. If you're given a job, you don't do it well, you're going to be blacklisted.
Okay.
Again, members of parliament now have been energized, if I should put it, to play our oversight, to monitor whatever contracts going on within your constituency, to ensure that the contractors are working to expectation, good quality work. So these are some of the interventions, and I think we as Ghanaians all have roles to play to ensure that we get value for money in whatever contract that we award. So the quick one on the IMF Executive Board approval of the 370 million.
Yeah.
I know Kojo would once again want to disagree. I think
no,
you agree.
Yes, I agree.
That this is as a result of this is as a result of prudent economic management. This as a result of fiscal discipline that Ato Ahoy and the economic management team are employing at the moment, and this is an clear indication of confidence that the international community is now having in this economy as a result of the prudent management. It's a welcome news. Fitch has already elevated us. In the coming days, I expect that Moody's and S&P all to give a favorable rating.
You know, some Ghanaians still argue that it hasn't yet reflected.
My brother, let me
put that aside. So the claim is,
let me make my point.
Your administration awarded several contracts without any financial, what's the word for it? Without financing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me say one word. Honorable Atuforsen was the ranking member in Finance Committee in Parliament, right? My brother, what committee are you on?
Yeah, I'm on Environment.
Environment, okay. Haven't we always see budgets go to Parliament? Expenditure, 150 million. Receivables, 130 million. Don't we always see it? What does that tell you? It tells you that the government is budgeted to spend more money than they have. So you came into government. No, my brother. What's short for? My point. The point is that the point I'm trying to tell you is that when you sit in Parliament and those budget is read, you know from day one that the government you are inheriting does not have all the money to do all the projects. I don't know what you're complaining about. Because our receivables are not as much as our expenditure.
All right. So
and we know the solution now. Atu says every contract has to be cleared at the Ministry of Finance before you can award.
Join us for the conversation.
We are waiting for media budget to come.
Every contract has to be cleared at the
Mr. Afel is former GJA president, and Kojo Poku is energy analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for giving us a refreshing news review this morning. The AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, and we provide quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment options. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we get into our big stories. Please stay.